Here we go again. Trying hard, but you wanna be my friend. Ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. Here we go again. Call my bluff, I'ma be here till the end. I'm the one you ride, I'm the one you ride to. If you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change, I can help you out. 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 I can help you.
Kind of want to just keep listening to that song and let that go for a while, but we are live. We are back together. So, hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning, Christian.
Good morning.
Excellent. Well, to kick things off, so hello and welcome to another episode of Microsoft Community Office Hours, where we will be discussing all things Microsoft 365 and answering questions from the community. My name is Christian Buckley. I am an Office Apps and Services MVP and Microsoft Regional Director and the Microsoft Go-to-Market Director at AvePoint. And I'm dialing in from Lehi, Utah. Yay. And from the bunker, the basement. Joining me today, hello, Sean McDonough, a consultant with Bitstream. Yeah, see, like just doing the announcements of the panel just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I don't know today.
Just Sean. Just Sean.
We'll
get you, man.
I'm struggling. Sean McDonough, a consultant with Bitstream Foundry in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Office Apps and Services MVP. Mike Nelson, a solutions architect with Pure Storage and a cloud and data center management MVP based in Appleton, Wisconsin. Hal Hostetler, senior field engineer with Roland Shore and Tower in Tucson, Arizona, and an Office Apps and Services MVP. It's the running theme here every week. Eric Riz, founder and CEO of MT Cubicle and Office Apps and Services MVP based out of Toronto, Canada, our 51st state here in the U.S. Welcome. And we also have Sharon Weaver, founder and CEO of Smarter Consulting and a Microsoft Regional Director based in Lenexa, Kansas. And I think we have Shari going to join a little bit late. I think she said she would dial in. So I will introduce her right at the beginning here. She should be joining, a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft Office master, and co-founder of PowerApp Learning in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And I'm not sure where Neil is. Neil might be late as well. Neil Hodgkinson with Microsoft may or may not join us today.
I got an auto reply from him. Is he still on vacation or something?
No, he's home. He should be back. So,
yeah, he's still sending out his automatic email.
Yeah, well, that
makes sense.
That could be strategery at work. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you should be introducing him ahead of time because I mean, when Sean didn't show up for so many sessions,
I know
that you didn't introduce him once.
So via email, Mike,
except that he was dead to us.
He was dead to us, but I this morning
even observed the moment of silence there.
I officially I officially unshunned Sean this morning via email. So.
I think I just made it in under the wire. I was going to wake up next time with a horse's head next to me.
Or a dead fish in your...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, I mean, Christian, just so you know, Eric, Canada won't be the 51st state. It'll be the 52nd state because you're going to move back after D.C. becomes a state. So you'll be now 52nd.
That's fair.
I don't know. Puerto Rico as well. It could be 53rd. Yeah. I know. You kind of missed that window to be 51st. I know. Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's kick things off. Unless there's anything else. Oh, well. Wait. So this week.
Whoa.
I just remembered. Like events and stuff.
What are we doing here? Everybody stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
We have TeamsNation that's happening. A big event happening this week as well. I don't think there's anything else this week. That's the big one that's going on. For those that don't know, if you go out and do a search for TeamsNation as one word, and I think it's TeamsNation.rocks.
TeamsNation.rocks /register. I'll put it in this chat.
Okay.
Is that ROX?
I may or may not be doing a session on Wednesday.
ROCKS. I know, Eric, they missed out on that opportunity as well. For
Yeah, the other one's a porn site.
Right after this session is
And we just got taken
Kansas
down.
City M365 user group if anybody'd like to join.
Yeah, that's right. The user group. I get those emails every week. I just think, wow, and it conflicts with the other meetings.
And
that I
he
have going
deletes
on.
them.
That's right. I do.
Something else to ignore.
You think he does that, or does he have a rule set up?
I see them. It's manually. I leave it manual so that I can do it with disdain.
Yes.
With intent and disdain. All right. So with that, hey, Mike, anything
Yo.
going on in the world of Microsoft 365 Message Center?
Oh, there is so much going on, Christian. There's just, I just don't have enough time to do it all. So here are the highlights from the past week.
Which
Hey,
department?
another event going on that you may not be aware of is Microsoft Build. Microsoft Build will be going on May 25th to the 27th. If you're interested at all in any of the developer kind of things, APIs, I know they got some Power Automate sessions as well. So if you're at all interested in that, I encourage you to go sign up for Build.
Hey, Mike, what were your thoughts on Build last year, being the first one done online? Because part of it, I don't remember I'm not a Build target audience member for that. It's a developer centric. However, the numbers last year were amazing. Microsoft, of course, loved that. I think it's over 200,000 people
Something
that
like that.
participated. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy big. And the thing about it is Build is always a sold out event, right? So it's always, whenever it was in person, it was sold out. And that's why they started doing some hybrid of Build over the last couple of years. But the thing about Build was when it was done last year, it was after Microsoft already had a couple of virtual events in their back pocket. And they were starting to learn from their mistakes, I think, as many of us were when we started to hold events and they were virtual and we didn't know, we knew what we were doing, but we didn't know what we were doing because there's so many different nuances about holding virtual events, as we all know now. But Microsoft, they did a pretty good job, and I enjoyed it. I actually, I enjoy Build. I actually enjoy it more than an Ignite, to be honest with you. And that's just because it's very, very technical. It used to be, I call it the tech ed of the old days, if you will. I don't know if you guys remember tech ed,
of course.
New Orleans and the stuff like that. I mean, that was a time when you got so deep into the weeds. It was so much fun. But now they've kind of, the whole, they have a degree of marketing that's involved now. And I don't know, it's just different.
Yeah.
So moving on, reminder, Skype for Business Online will retire July 31st. So everyone that's using Skype for Business, whoever you are, the 5 people in the world that still are, it retires.
Put a bullet in it.
Yeah, put a bullet in it. July 31st. It will be end of life, DOA, shot in the head, all done. All right.
So violent on this Monday morning. Wow.
Angry. He's angry. Why are you so angry? Don't be angry.
No.
We're all friends here.
All right, got an update for you on Teams. Everybody loves Teams. I guess everybody loves Teams. Large gallery view in Together mode for web meetings will now be available in Edge and Chrome browsers. I guess it wasn't available before. I know we talked about it before, but they're calling out specifically Edge and Chrome. Obviously, Edge is made from Chrome now, as we all know, and that'll be available. It'll be coming out as a roadmap. The updated rollout timeline will be early June now. Speaking of Together mode is now generally available. Yay!
Yay.
They've actually taken the preview label off of something. So Together mode preview label will be taken off coming up here at the end of May, and you will no longer will see that little preview tag. It is now.
Is that the only change, though? It's just that the preview tag is gone? Is there any final features added?
It's an event because the removal of the preview label indicates that the all-together mode capabilities will be functional and available to your organization. When you got the preview label in there, that means, hey, something can go wrong we're not, don't.
Okay.
We're not
From here on out. So according to Mike, nothing will go wrong. So if you have any issues with it, what's your email?
According to me. Christian.
I'm just Captain Literal here.
Yeah. So finishing off Together Mode, Roadmap Edition coming May calendar year 2021, which is now, right? They say they have a Roadmap Edition called Together Mode for VDI. Okay, no real details on it, kind of like a one line. Yeah, it's coming, but what's the difference between Together Mode for Windows Desktop and Together Mode for VDI? Because VDI is just a Windows Desktop, a virtual Windows Desktop. I'm not getting the whole.
They're throwing something out there, trying to, because they didn't have any other major announcements coming out.
See if it sticks against the wall.
And that feature team wanted to be mentioned in some media somewhere.
That's right. That's from the Department of, let's throw it against the wall and see what sticks. That's what it is.
There we go. That's
right. Hey, cool new feature. They actually have one cool new feature that I found. They've been putting out at least one. Outlook, you'll be able to dictate emails on your iPhone and iPad. So now the speech to text to dictate email messages will be available in the ENUS or the US language. And it's going to roll out in mid-May. So dictation is already available on the Windows and Mac, right? But iPhone and iPad, you'll be able to do it now. So think about what this means, right? You'll be able to sit there with your iPhone in front of you instead of saying, hey, Siri, do this. You can say, start dictating. I mean, think about this, right?
That's right.
Will it help me dictate small island nations?
Yeah. Well, somebody I was talking to about this about this last week, is they brought up, hey, does this mean that if you have CarPlay, with iOS, and you have a CarPlay and you have the ability to dictate an email directly through your CarPlay? I don't know.
Yes. So what? So it's an important feature when I'm driving 75 miles an hour and want to pen a letter to the editor for something.
As you
I'm angry.
do.
Oh, of course. No, I'm angriest when I'm driving at 75, and that's when I want to respond to letters through letters to the editor. And now I can do that using my iPhone while looking at my map and changing my Spotify playlist. I can dictate that all of that.
And watching a movie.
And and watching the movie.
And don't forget to eat, Christian. You look a little,
Well, that's. I think that was assumed that the burger would be in the lap and the drink.
Sandwich in one hand, drink in the other.
That's right. Drive like this.
That's why you have knees, my friend.
Knees, yeah.
I think it's actually kind of cool because, you think about it, you see people walking around talking to their phones now, and they're not actually talking to people. They're just dictating emails.
Yes.
Or they're crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Moving on. So lists. Everybody likes lists, right? We talked about lists in SharePoint. And then you have Microsoft lists, right? And now they're going to give you the ability to export those lists to CSV format. So they rolled out the capability to export Microsoft lists to CSVs to all environments. It rolled out second half of April 2021, but it's now fully available in all environments. And the thing is, the kicker here, the reason why I'm bringing this up, because everybody's like, well, why are you bringing this up, Mike? It's like they said it's rolled out. They have one sentence here. You got to hear this. We apologize for not announcing this feature in advance. So they rolled out something, but they didn't tell anybody about it. And now somebody said, hey, what's this? And they said, oh, yeah, we forgot to tell people. So now you have the ability on your Windows machines to export. The Excel button has been changed to say export. And then you have two options underneath it, which is Excel workbooks and then CSV, which is new.
So that saves me a step. I no longer have to convert my Excel to CSV.
Right.
It goes straight to CSV.
Yeah. That's right.
This just came up last week or week before last. It's come up a couple times where people have asked that that question about how to move that, how to share that out, and so this is great to be able to see that. Of course, where is that button? Is it right next to save? Is it in a confusing location that's going to cause people to have unintended behavior?
Of course,
clicking
it is.
on things. Okay,
Of course it is.
that's what I
On
expect.
the back of your monitor.
I expect nothing less.
That's right.
Yeah. So 2 things about it. On Macs, it's only the export to CSV option is available on a Mac. I don't know why they got Office for Mac. Why can't they do Excel? But who knows? And the feature is only supported inside lists, not inside document libraries. So that probably means something to Shari and Sean, but I really don't have a clue, so that's fine. We'll move on. Announcing new options for custom sensitive information types. This is kind of interesting because it calls out something that I have always had a problem with. And it's just the ability to add, when you do custom, sensitive information types, they call them SITs. And when you use SITs, it's like when you put in, classified company information, you put a label on a document in Office 365. It's data classification. And I did a big stretch where I was working around information protection and data classification. And one of the things is that you could add things to a custom dictionary where you had custom words that businesses use, that are like specific to that business. The only thing is once you put that word in, you couldn't edit it. It made no sense to me. There's no way to edit it. Now you can actually go in and edit the custom dictionaries. So that to me is kind of big just because I used to be so involved in that. But before, you actually had to go into regex and you'd have to go in and do all this stuff. If you typed a word wrong, say you typed in the word date and you typed in DAT or, F or something instead of DATE, you couldn't edit it. So every time you mistyped it, the dictionary said, oh, it was good.
It's a new global standard.
Yeah, exactly. So coming new, launch your portal using the SharePoint portal launch scheduler. Sean, do you know about this?
Nope.
Oh man, come on.
Sharon's excited about it. So,
Sharon,
what's the impact there, Sharon?
Well, I'm kind of watching the portal stuff. It's definitely been pieces of information, but it's this idea of essentially allowing other people to log into something specific from outside your tenant. So I'm waiting to see more info, but there's basically portals around Power Platform and SharePoint that I'm excited to see where that's headed.
Yeah, so the SharePoint portal launch scheduler will allow you to coordinate and schedule launch details for high traffic sites. What it does is it basically allows you to create a portal, in SharePoint, or create a site and then schedule the launch where it goes live, at 8 a.m. Pacific on Monday or whatever.
Actually, what they're probably doing, it's that, but the guidance has always been, especially if something is expected to be highly trafficked, to roll out in stages with different user groups to allow the auto-scaling algorithms to spin up new virtual server instances for the farm.
Well, yeah, and that's the portal launch scheduler. According to this, I'm reading this from the release, is the portal launch scheduler enables site owners to batch groups of users into waves.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So during the launch of each wave, you can gather user feedback, monitor portal performance, and pause the launch to resolve issues before proceeding with the next wave. So that's kind of cool. And then it also will add the scheduler provides an automatic redirect for existing sites if needed. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Going to close up with a couple roadmap items that I saw. Microsoft Teams Power Automate templates will now be added to Teams templates. So all the folks that love to do Power Automate stuff, now it'll be actually added to the Teams templates, and that's going to be coming out pretty soon. You'll be able to create, right within Team, a predefined channel and pre-installed apps. You'll be able to, throw Power Automate code right in there and be able to run it just as a template inside of Teams. Microsoft Teams live transcript in unscheduled team meetings. So that's kind of unusual. I mean, I thought live transcript was really based around understanding a person's voice and language. You know how in PowerPoint, if we want to use the ability to do captions or transcript. You had to kind of, it was better if you trained it. But now they're allowing you to do it in unscheduled team meetings, which means you could have people that are talking that live transcript's going to, I guess, do the best it can, right?
Yeah, I saw people talking about this weekend about the speaker attribution as well, which is really cool. So you can have, if you've got the feature turned on, you're in a live meeting, a lot of people, and so it actually, as it captures the live transcript there as well, and tries to identify and right there as part of the transcript. So if you're reading along, and it's not just having to follow which box lights up, which profile who's talking, has it right there on screen.
And I think it'll be interesting just to try it out. I mean, even for our podcast here, our get together, if we actually turned on live transcript just to see how it came out and what was actually said and what was actually because when you get someone who has a little Canadian slang to their voice, it might not come through just right.
I'm thinking this is another feature that is going to require some work in Scotland.
Yeah.
Just a guess.
There we go. It's happening in real time. It's happening, people. It's happening.
All right, I'm going to close it up. Group assignments in Microsoft Teams. This is, I think, this is a feature that they're targeting at students. Teachers and students in education. I think they should be targeting for everybody. And what they're doing is they're going to create something coming out in August, September timeframe of this year that'll allow the new group assignment feature. So you can organize your students. It could be project team members into groups so they can work together to create, collaborate, and submit the same work, like a whiteboard file or a Word document. And then each student in the group gets the credit and recognition for having turned in their work. I think that'd be great for project teams, and being able to, whiteboard something and then turn it into, the person who's in charge of the project from a business perspective. But they're really focusing it towards students and teachers.
There are a lot of
unrelated,
great... Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Sorry, Christian. Unrelated, but isn't when a bunch of students hand in the same paper called plagiarism?
Working as a group, Eric, just like we're supposed to be doing on this call, Eric.
Got it.
Working as a group.
You mean just like we're supposed to be doing on this call?
Cooperative.
There you go.
In theory.
Oh man. Yes. All right, Christian, I yield my time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there's actually a lot that's happening, of course, in the education sector. I don't field some of the questions that I see that are out there just because historically none of us have work in that space to, enough to know all of what's happening in education and with those license types. But there's a lot of the features, a lot of the capabilities, especially around meetings and teams, are being pushed forward because of the education sector. So it's a cool space.
I don't understand why they're pigeonholing it though. It's kind of like the whole whiteboard thing. Is that they kind of remember I talked about that last week? Is a licensing on the whiteboard. They're pigeonholing it to a specific persona of people. So the whiteboard you can only get with a certain set of licenses now, which makes no sense. And now if they pigeonhole this to say, oh, it's only for students and teachers, why? I mean,
well, that's the kind of feedback.
Of life.
That's true.
They're limiting their support liability. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But that's so that's where you need to provide your feedback back to Microsoft, to provide them, go on User Voice or in Microsoft Tech Community and let them know, hey, this feature that's available to EDU, it needs to be in commercial. Like, we need to have this within the enterprise. Yeah.
Well said. I think we should just give it to Christian, and Christian can pass it on.
We could just do that. So
because he's an RD, he's up here, we're down here.
Sharon too. You just
Oh, Sharon, I'm sorry.
Pick it on me. Sean, what's the link that you just shared? Is that something relevant to the topic?
It was about transcribing. Okay. I said they might have problems in Scottish. It's a Siri video that is rather humorous and not safe for work.
Okay.
Not safe for work. Okay, so just so you call that out right away, NSFW. So people aren't like clicking on it right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Christian, did you run the disclaimer before the show?
I did not run the disclaimer, but here it is now.
We're not
So-
covered. We're not
Apparently,
covered.
you got to add something there about links that Sharon McDonough posts may not be suitable for small children.
That's right. Oh,
Small
yeah.
children.
That's right.
I know those 4-year-old Office 365 users. They're
Well,
quite,
you're,
quite a big part of our
yes, but those
base.
those large children, the 8-year-olds that are over 6'4", they're fine. Just small children. Okay. Well, with that,
John's not 6'4". What are you talking about?
Wow.
I see. So Mr. Paul Swider is watching and just made a comment here. Sorry if I missed this a couple of minutes. Oh, it's only 2 minutes back. Says there's a new AI ML company that does speech to text. They can even remove the unwanted ums for speakers automatically now. Yeah.
I
So
saw
Where's that link?
in real time. Oh, it's got it
that
out
link?
there.
Well, post it in the chat.
In rev.com. So let me do that.
I don't watch the live feed at the same time we're doing this because it gets me all messed up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. There's a link that he
Sure,
shared
Mike.
there. Just commit that to memory right there.
What kind of
There
link
you
is
go.
that?
I know. Well, it's because it's from Facebook. It's because Facebook attached all the crap to it.
So they're going to take all my personal information
Of
and they're
course.
going to harvest it?
Of
They're
course
gonna-
they are. Yes.
Oh,
All right.
No, you're going to pay them to take your personal information.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, let's thank you for that, Mike. A lot to go on for once again for all of those that are tuning in. There is nothing else important out of Microsoft Message Center except for the things that Mike has shared. Everything
According to
else
Christian.
irrelevant because if it were important, Mike would have shared it. So if he
I
didn't
claim
share
no
it,
responsibility.
if he shared it,
We talked about this last week, but I do want to point out that one of the things I'm excited about that came out in the Message Center is the SharePoint site templates. I've been waiting on that for a long time, and I'm really excited. So if you don't know about
Fab
those,
40.
Mike has
Yeah,
deemed
they
it
go.
as not important, though, Sharon. So
No, we talked about it last week. It was actually
Good.
released. It was last week. So
okay.
if you would keep up on what I'm talking about, Christian, and then we wouldn't. I understand.
Mike, I've got the headphones in. It's not for this show. When you're talking, I'm listening to music off to the side. I've got a game going on my phone. I mean, that's other stuff. I
I
can't
thought
be.
it was just Hal. Hal just sits there like, he's just listening to music, kicking back, drinking his coffee.
Oh, he's waiting. Hal waits to pounce on a topic. Then he's
Hal's
all over.
actually, most people don't know this, but Hal's actually listening to music. He's just watching the transcription go at the bottom of the screen.
That's
The
right.
captions.
There you go.
He doesn't actually hear what we're saying.
Nice. I like that hat.
You always have to be prepared for a legendary Hal tirade.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Well, let's jump in on these community questions. For those that are watching again, we are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube this week. Feel free to ask a question. I am monitoring live if there are questions that come in, as we did with Paul's. And with
Yeah,
that,
you can ask anything.
ask anything, whether we have an answer or whether we'll be helpful. Yes. Well, community question number 1. John says, so we had a few carryovers from last week that we didn't get to. This is one of them. John says, I've uploaded few files in SharePoint and after a few minutes deleted all contents except column name from Excel. But after some time when I am loading those files in SharePoint, it still shows content. Why? Do you understand what he's experiencing there?
No. I don't. But then again, I'm known to be slow. Sharon, does that make sense to you?
I feel like he's either saying that he emptied all the information out of Excel or he deleted everything out of the list. Maybe he did it in quick view and then didn't close it out something properly. I'm confused by the question also.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was confused too, but I mean my assumption was, by mentioning so in SharePoint, whether it's if he
I wonder if he's creating a list from an Excel file and then afterwards he cleared the content. but then it's still showing the content. But sometimes if you have it in quick edit mode, so one of the things that people don't realize is that if you have something in quick edit mode, until you hit exit, any changes you make are pretty much irrelevant. So it's possible that maybe somehow they're not managing quick edit mode correctly. That's the only thing I can come up with.
There's Shari.
And there is Shari. And Shari, thanks for joining. We already introduced you earlier, so we won't go through all that formality. We'll just jump right in there. So, Shari Oswald, everyone, hello. And we're so I think that is sufficient. We're all confused by the question, but I think that's a good answer for what could that possibly be. And let's jump to question number 2, something fresh and new, and we'll get we'll just move on. We'll rise above it because we're professionals.
So what you're saying is I haven't missed much.
No. Because Mike was going on and on and on about Message Center updates. So Stefan says, hello, can you summarize or combine PDF documents in SharePoint? And he's got a long example, but I'm just going to leave it there.
No, but I put a link in there. You can go out to Adobe. They'll freely combine them.
Well, that's actually something so if that's the issue is that you're creating PDFs and you want to combine them, yes, go to Adobe to do that. If you are scanning items and want to add multiple in, then you can use the Office app for that. And so you can create a PDF and add multiple files together if you're scanning or clicking photos of or adding from multiple sources. You can do that right from your mobile device.
Or get Acrobat.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an Acrobat plugin that you could do a Power Automate flow that would do it automatically, because it sounds like what's happening is they've got pieces coming in over time, which sounds to me screams workflow because there's a process behind it. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that there are actions in Power Automate that coordinate with Acrobat. I just don't know if there's one that could potentially, you could put it on a time where you could say when there's something new to put it together. And I don't know the answer to that, but I do know you can do it in Acrobat.
Yeah, you can manually do that in Acrobat. Yeah, so as items come in, you can have it. If it doesn't automatically communicate with it, you can have it go into a folder, and that you can manually go in and add those pages into that PDF and save it in another location. So
there's a Band-Aid too. You could sync that library using OneDrive and then use Acrobat locally and combine them, and it would synchronize up to SharePoint too.
Right.
Yeah, I'm actually anti-Adobe, so if there's probably third-party options that are available as well. I mean, I don't like Adobe because they just take your money and lots of money and
lots of money.
I'm happy with Tracker software products as far as PDF manipulation goes.
Yeah, you can create PDFs with Office, but I don't know if you can do any merging.
No. There's a couple like QPDF. You can do it with that. You can do, but I just don't like Adobe. I don't like giving Adobe my money. Just like some people say they don't like giving Microsoft their money, but they have to.
Or Google or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Every year I have this conversation with my wife, who's a designer, and be like, which Adobe products do you really need? Because they're not cheap. Those annual renewals are just
I have the Adobe
crazy.
Cloud and I love it. So
and I don't know if anybody
I
saw.
I have the Creative Cloud as well.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody read the article. It was just in ARS Technica, if anybody follows that. But there was an article in there about a guy who actually got, if you have an annual Creative Cloud and you cut it off early, you still have to pay them, for up to 50% of the remaining months that you don't even use it.
It's in the agreement. Yep.
I know, but it's crazy. I mean, it's like having a subscription and, I don't use the whole thing.
You know what it is, Mike? It's like trying to quit your local gym. That's what it is.
Yeah. But why would I pay Adobe for something I'm not even going to use? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Well, and it's all or nothing. Like I'm trying to figure out how to clean out my hard drive because it's all bloated, and when I installed Creative Cloud, there's all media encoder and all this stuff. I don't need any of that. Yeah.
But you bought it, you paid for it, so you can have it if you want it.
And you have to sign the agreement. To Christian's point, it's in the agreement, right?
Buyer beware.
When you have the salt lick at your desk, you're going to feel bloated.
Oh, jeez.
Am I off topic? All right, let's jump to question number 3.
You need better euphemisms, man. You really got to come up with some better euphemisms.
Christian's on fire today.
I was literally talking about a salt lick. If it were socially acceptable,
What are you, a deer?
I would have a salt lick at my desk. So I don't have a sweet tooth, I have a salt tooth. So.
I'm married to a cattle rancher, and yeah, all I can think of is the big cow.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
All right. Question number 3 from Andrew says, here's a question that has been asked of me and my company. I need to share 2 Excel files in 365 through various email accounts, which can be edited or fill in the boxes, but not saved locally, so no download, and not printed. Can you tell me if SharePoint can be done? Because SharePoint used for this. 2 Excel files shared via email, but that can be edited, but not saved and not printed.
Can't you just do that in Excel online?
Yeah, you can do that. Excel, I believe Excel has multiple features that will allow you to limit what people can do inside of Excel specifically.
I dropped the link, prevent download, but allow online editing. So really it just comes down to setting the user only to read or view only permission in SharePoint. But
wow, Sean comes back and he's like contributing, man. He's like,
well, yeah, I got to
I'm
make
all
up
over
time.
this.
I've got to,
Excel has
smack
a ton
back.
of features that people don't realize. Excel is kind of like a little mini application that has a ton of options, and I don't think people realize how much you can do in Excel directly.
It's like all the Office products. Blow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for those, again, that are following along and are wondering, the links will also be in the follow-up blog post for all the questions as we cover. So you'll be able to go to Buckley Planet and find the recording as well as that link list. And I'll paste that.
Following along into this?
And I will paste all of that over into YouTube as well. So
we have an audience? I thought it was just
sometimes.
us.
Just swider. I swider.
Yeah. All right. Great. All right. So question number 4, Fiona and Hal has already jumped in with a link there. But Fiona asks us, someone has logged into my Outlook account and I can't log into my Outlook account. I Googled it and it tells you to change your password. They send you a code. When I get the code, the email showing is not mine. I don't know what I should do. Has anyone got some advice of what to do, please?
That's essentially a call Microsoft support.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really stuck with the reset code isn't for the email. That how did you get the email if you didn't?
Well, there's two
unless
different.
It's an online reset code.
Yeah, because there's 2 different places, right? So in your Microsoft account, you can set up the phone number or MFA, but then you can actually go in and change the email address, but it won't allow you to change the email address and the verifying phone number at the same time. So I think that's where it's coming in. Somebody hijacked her account, went in and changed the email address for the owner of the account, but they can't go in and change the verification phone number. So
That's my best guess too. Call Microsoft.
Yeah.
Hire a hitman.
Expensive.
That's the easy way out.
Expensive.
It's so expensive. Hal is speaking from experience. Yeah.
Well, look at that hat. I mean,
I know.
something's going on here, folks.
Getting nervous. Hal's making me nervous, Christian.
All right.
Tell him to stop.
There, that better.
So question number 5, Patricia. I'm a beginner with SharePoint right now. Yeah, I'm
Number
assuming.
5, Mike.
Patrick. Okay.
Yes, Patricius. I'm a beginner with SharePoint right now. I'm creating a site for my team where publish different files. The team is using iPads. This is obviously translated over in Facebook, folks, so it's a little bit rough on the translation. But following this, I would love to create the notification and send it on mobile devices each time I will publish any files. Is there any opportunity to do this? So sending notifications every time files are published. I know that there is one option. With it, I can send notification by email, but I don't want it. I want notification on the app.
The SharePoint app or the Teams app, I think is the question.
So let's talk about the difference between them. So this person has only talked about SharePoint, not about Teams. So if there's updates to a list or library and new files are being added, is there a way for notifications via the app?
I mean, you can do a Power Automate,
That's what I was thinking.
but I don't know if there's nothing native that I don't know. I'm not as smart as you guys on that stuff, so.
There's alerts on the library, and the owner of the library can set them for other people.
But
You can
that's
set them for
emails.
yourself.
But
It's
that's
not what?
emails. He's looking for updates in the app itself, or they, whoever they are. The alerts send emails. I don't know if they send updates in the apps. I haven't played with the apps on the mobile devices lately in terms of updates. I do know in Teams and in PowerApps, you can have pop-ups that happen essentially. I know in Teams you can do that, and I know in Power Automate using a Power App you could do that. It might be, I mean, if they really wanted to go beyond that, they might have to use a Power App for it, but I'm not sure. That's a good question. I might have to go play with that a little bit and see if you can do it in the app or not.
Homework.
I don't know.
Homework. She just volunteered for homework.
That's what I heard as well.
Yeah, I'll test it out because I'm curious now.
Okay. Homework
Sometimes
assigned.
it just becomes personal. Like when you don't know the answer, it's like, that's personal. I need to figure out that.
Yeah. Or when hiring a hitman. That's also becomes personal at that
Well, I
point.
feel like if one
Very
person asks
personal.
me the question, more people will probably ask the question soon, so it's a good thing to know.
Yep.
Copycats.
Okay. Question number
Thanks,
6. Are says, so I'm struggling with something that should be simple. I have a SharePoint list which I added an image type column, but it doesn't appear as an option on the PowerApp form it is linked to, even after refreshing. Can somebody help me?
Don't all jump on it at once.
Yeah, I haven't built a ton of Power Apps yet. I'm still kind of a baby playing with Power Apps, but I do know that images in Power Apps are still a struggle in terms of selecting them and finding them. Like you can embed them, but I don't know any more than that.
Yeah, I think we've had a variation of this a couple. It might have been like a month ago. I think we had a similar question about this.
Yeah, the image type column in SharePoint, that's not an embedded binary.
Right. It's a reference.
Hyperlink, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
anything
that's
that's a
probably
reference gets difficult in Power Apps. So you probably have to point. I wonder if you point it directly to like a library where the images are stored. That might make it easier, but I don't know.
Well, I've already got a question out to Laura Rogers from last week. And I can follow up with this one as well and see if she's got a quick answer for this. So let me, I'll post this out.
We need to start inviting some Power Apps people.
Yeah.
Or just use a disclaimer.
I don't know. I think you're going to see that more. Our platform is getting so in our space. I feel like it's coming.
Yeah.
But I wish it would have been that way when it was Flow, but now it's picked up because it's got the word power in front of it and they have a whole new team behind it. And it was just as good when it was Flow, but it is what it is.
All right. Question number 7. Santosh says, hi team. I am working on a PowerShell script to read Excel data. Excel is hosted on SharePoint and shared across the organization. I have no background about permissions of files shared using SharePoint. Please let me know if a user can open an Excel file over the browser without signing or without any credentials or without authentication. Thanks in advance.
So SharePoint files are just in OneDrive, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, SharePoint folks. You have the ability to access files that are in SharePoint just by going to a OneDrive location, correct?
It's splitting hairs. OneDrive is SharePoint, but SharePoint is not OneDrive. I had this conversation the other day. But I think the question he's asking is, can you do anonymous usage? And yes, you can do anonymous access in SharePoint or OneDrive, assuming things are configured correctly at the tenant level, the SharePoint and OneDrive level, and or the Teams level.
Right. What I was getting at is whether or not in the PowerShell script, if he's calling it as an absolute path or a relative path. So can you see, and I'm just asking this question in general, can you see or get to files in OneDrive that are hosted in SharePoint? Is there a direct path to that? Can I go into the OneDrive on my local machine and drill down to a SharePoint site and then actually get to a file that's hosted on a SharePoint site?
Yeah, you go to the tenant name -my.sharepoint.com.
So that would be an absolute path.
Yep.
So you'd be able to, okay, so in a PowerShell script, if you had permissions to that file, because and we're going a little bit deeper on this, when that file is in that physical location in that absolute path, what permissions take control of that file? Are those NTFS permissions or are those SharePoint permissions?
SharePoint permissions if you're going against the SharePoint site.
Yes.
Okay, so that site permission controls access to that file, not the file system that it's sitting on.
As long as it's not blocked, by something before that. So so let's say, for example, if the network is blocked by external access regulations or AD, if they have AD or Azure AD to set up to not allow external access, that can actually be blocked. Or if they have whitelisted URLs or whitelisted domains, sorry, if they're limiting the access at a higher level, that can be managed. But if they're not limiting that, then yes, what you're asking is true.
Okay.
And running scripts against locations in SharePoint also involves another permission level that oftentimes is not set by default. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Especially if it's online, because that can be enabled and disabled as well.
Gotcha.
It's a tricky question because it's kind of like there's a lot of gates you have to go through. Assuming that all the doors are open,
it's possible.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, good. That's good to understand, because I was trying to understand when you're programmatically creating a script to read a file or to pull a file or to manipulate a file. It really depends on what permissions are granted to the user to see that file. Now, that's the governing thing, right? Is what is actually controlling the permissions of that file? Is it SharePoint? Is it, something else? Is it NTFS? Is it, what do you have to get down to actually give anonymous permission to that file to be able to read it or whatever?
And another tip, another big thing we run into too is especially if you're using a service account, it's a really smart idea to have a service account that doesn't have MFA enabled, because if you have MFA enabled, it'll also try to re-credential it every time it tries to go. And I know that's not for the anonymous side, but if you're using a service account to access files, especially in an online tenant, MFA can get in the way a lot.
Security folks are just right now going, boo, boo.
Now, assuming he gets the Excel spreadsheet down, whether or not he's going to be able to do anything with it remains to be seen. CSV, you can import CSVs into PowerShell all day long, but we're talking Excel proprietary format or even XML format. It's like,
well, PowerShell has a built-in logic in a commandlet called import from Excel. So it has logic to import an Excel, but it looks for a delimiter of some sort, right? It's not an import from CSV, it's an import from Excel.
Okay, I typically, when I'm using spreadsheets, and I know I'm going to be using them with PowerShell, I don't bother with any of the Office formats. I do straight CSV.
A lot of folks don't. Yeah, just because of the headaches it creates, yeah.
Fun with SharePoint on a Monday morning.
Yay! I know. Well, I like to line up all the SharePoint questions early for Mike. But No, it just, it was just the questions being asked. It's the luck of the draw. It's interesting looking week by week, and sometimes there's just a flood of Teams questions, or there might be just and I did very quickly go through, and even like in Azure and Power Apps, and I very quickly run into the questions that we saw, last week, and so we're out of kind of the new. So,
don't we have a telephony question in here somewhere?
I don't believe so this week. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I just had to ask that. But
no bonus points for any of us.
If we have time at the end, I'll just think up one on the fly there for you. So
I really want a gold star.
All right. So question number 8, Ahmed says, what will happen if a user is given global reader role based on group-based RBAC? So, for example, local AD synced group having access to subscriptions as global reader at MG level. And also if we provide the same user Azure AD role from PIM having global reader. So which role will take precedence, and what would be the best practice to provide roles if we have group-based RBAC and PIM enabled?
This is confusing.
So what difference does it make?
Yeah, I mean, the global reader role in Azure AD controls obviously everything in Office 365, M365, and Azure. So if you have global reader role, it's going to go across everything. I mean, the RBAC is only applicable to individual resources within an Azure. And it's not a global setting. It's individual settings. What is the MG level? Am I missing something there? I don't know what that is.
We're all missing that. So
Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Is that management group, maybe?
Maybe.
At the management group level?
Maybe they mean like a security group.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a Microsoft group.
Well, management groups are a thing in Azure AD, just like M365 groups are a thing in 365. So I don't know. To me, it's confusing. I mean, a global reader is a global reader unless you have a resource that specifically has an RBAC permission set for that person not to be. So it's allow, and then deny, right? And so
I'm wondering if they're asking if they have access as a global reader in Azure AD, will that override for the stuff that they have on prem if they're limited to a certain group?
Well, okay, so then I have more questions.
I'm trying to figure out why they're asking the question.
Because that's why we're here as a community, as leaders, as experts. Again, I'm going to just put the disclaimer on screen for a second there. All right, as experts around that, is just to ask more questions, confuse ourselves and the audience even more. So continue.
Yeah, I mean, do they have Azure? No, Azure AD is AD. I mean, that's what I don't understand. There's no differentiation between the two, unless you have two different domains set up. Unless you're not doing the sync.
Well, that's what it says. It says, for example, local AD synced group.
Well, then it's just under AD. I mean, it's there's no difference. There's no difference except that one's in the cloud and one's on premises. So
I do find that if they have a local AD group that's synced out to Azure AD, that sometimes they have limitations with the local AD accounts if they don't have an Azure AD account. But if they have both accounts, then I don't see any limitations. It seems to be that it just syncs everything together.
We're back to global reader is global reader.
Global read is global read.
yeah.
If you give them global read, they're going to have global read. It doesn't matter where you give it to them.
Yeah, and he's asking what would be the best practice to provide roles if we have a group-based RBAC and PIM enabled.
One of my best practices is not to use an acronym until you write it out. Just saying.
Just saying.
That's part of the magic of doing these sessions, though, is trying to.
This is magic.
Interpret what the author meant there, since we don't have the chance to do a follow-up question.
You have to be a mind reader. Like, that's part of the job.
I'm gonna bring my magic 8-ball up next week.
Yeah,
that's right.
Cool.
John,
Yeah.
You got one. I'll
Ask
chime
again
in.
later.
Can
I'll
we make
give him-
Christian?
I'll
Can we
give
make
him
Christian
my.
disappear? Damn, he's still there.
I'll give him the advice I give my kids. and that is don't leave yourself open to interpretation. Yeah.
I mean, in the world today, just so you know, Ahmed, in the world today, technology world, Microsoft has 5,000 different acronyms for 5,000 different things, and some of them are the same acronym. So we can't know everything, you know.
Yeah.
PIM could be a lot of different things. I know project managers will use it for something different than what, you know, engineers use it for. So, and I remember PIM from an old acronym was the Personal Information Management with the what were the visors, the Palm Pilots. They
that's
were a
right.
PIM device.
That's right.
They
That's
were
right.
a PIM device.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Palm Pilots here?
That's right. You know, I still have mine. I mean, it's in a box.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. Yeah.
It's right next to the Zunes.
I was gonna say, wasn't that the device that won the Who Has the Oldest Device in the Drawer
I
contest?
think so. I think it might have.
Yeah.
So I put a link out here. I think the big answer to this is if you don't have somebody helping you with your maturity model and your governance, you probably should if you're asking best practice questions around admins. So I just put the link out here, the generic link for administration and kind of getting governance started around those particular roles, because I know I spend a lot of time working with my clients on getting their governance set up around M365 administration. So that's a good place to start.
Awesome. All right.
I can't wait to get to I can't wait to get to question 10. So hurry
Okay.
up.
All right. Question number 9. I'm going to ask it very slow. It's like when my driving with my kids when they're small and be like, Dad, get home quick. Got to use the bathroom. So, of course, Dad, then I drive a stick, jerking the car, slowing down under the speed limit. Call the things like, why would you give me that information?
You are just a mean person. You're
He's
just
like, do you know me at all? Do you
I'll
know me?
I'll
A
just
loving parent
it's-
would use that information for good, Christian.
all I'm
Nah.
saying is it was part of a longer strategy in raising my kids. That one, my children, they know that they're loved. Number 2, they know that there's no way in hell once they turn 18 they're ever moving back home. And that's
When Christian finally kicks, his kids are going to pack him into a car, drive along the road, and roll him into a ditch.
No, I think I've talked about this before. There's general acceptance that that it's like, you know, Dad's gonna live longer than Mom. It's like, and they did the 1, 2, 3 not it on who gets to have Dad. So, and then I just mentioned that whoever takes care of me is directly tied to the will. So, you know.
There you go.
Anyway.
Well, they say that if you don't want your kids to move back in with you, don't make it comfortable. I guess if they have to continually go to the bathroom in the car, that's really not comfortable. So
that's it. Well,
mission accomplished.
Yeah, there's the kids came up. There's a whole joke back when Propel was new, and we'd always have cases of Propel in the back. My wife would drink the stuff. And so the boys would always joke about peeing in the Propel bottle as needed, and don't drink the open bottle of Propel that's on the floor of the back seat if we're on a long trip. Anyway, okay. Hey, speaking of, I forgot to say, those that know my son Preston, so he and his wife are expecting to induce tomorrow. So little grandson number 2 should arrive tomorrow or Wednesday. So little Carter Buckley should be here soon. So I'll let everybody know.
Pick the name ahead of time?
They picked the name already.
Of course they did, yeah.
Yeah. Assuming that it comes out and they'll be like, no, that doesn't look like a
That
Carter.
ain't a Carter. That isn't a Carter. No.
So who knows? Could happen there. All right, number 9, Dan says, when I purchased Microsoft 365, it was so that I could convene meetings with any attendee I sent an invitation to, clarifying that these attendees would not have Microsoft 365.
That's the only reason you bought 365? Really, Dan?
I discovered over a month ago that non-365 attendees cannot see each other, compromising the meetings. After 15 hours of discussion with 6 different tech staff, I was told that Teams cannot do this. And
How
then
much did he pay that tech staff? I
This
want
is-
to be on that tech staff.
This is not indicated on the site's pages or TV ads being aired these days. Do any of the users have insights into this? And so I'm a little bit confused by this because, so one, whether it's meetings or live events. If you're talking about live events, no, they don't see each other.
No, not unless they're
Nobody
presenting.
sees each other. Has nothing
Right.
to do with the login or not.
Right.
I've never had this problem in a Teams meeting ever.
Ever.
Yeah, Teams meetings, no problems. That
My guess is it's a configuration problem.
yeah.
And sometimes you see people and you wish you didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is I look at this as user or admin error, not as the features, because I have meetings all the time and there are different people who are admins that are just users with paid licenses or free that are joining that meeting. You can send an invitation to
Through a browser.
anyone.
Just open
Right.
up in a browser.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So-
I see them and they can participate.
Yeah, the two questions I have around this is number one, live meeting now, as we know, has come out with a feature that external users can now present their video inside of a live meeting if you make them a presenter.
Yeah.
Okay. And then really 15 hours of discussion with 6 different tech staff? Really? And they
That's a
can't
bunch.
figure this out?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's not the Microsoft tech staff, because
Oh, no.
I had the same.
No.
No, I had the same issue when I was trying to figure out why I couldn't. So I had a personal Microsoft account, and then I had the business Microsoft account. When I changed the domain, then now you have two. There's an ad. I didn't know this. I know now. There's an Azure AD, and then there's your domain. There's two different things, and I'm like, it is a Microsoft account. It's Office 365.
So that's my point. It's like you can
explained
spend
it to me.
2-3 hours, especially if there's multiple phone calls, of just doing that basic stuff before they ever get to the actual question. And
Right.
Yeah.
That's part of the frustration is, can we cut through all of that and let me just pose the technical question that I'm dealing with, and let's have a discussion
Yeah.
there.
You
And
need to connect me to tier 2 or tier 3 button.
right, and I
Yeah.
and I get that they need to have that baseline. And
But can the next guy have read the baseline first, please, so I don't have to go through the whole thing again?
That's the value of having a Microsoft partner, guys. That is the value, because we have kind of worked this out and figured out who we can talk to, and a lot of times we can answer that question faster than support can. And if we do need to escalate it, we have the ability to escalate it all the way up. So that's
Well-
what partners are for.
So I actually figured out how to fix it, and me, the ABC consultant, anything but code, fixed it with PowerShell all by myself. And I figured it out. And I sent it back to them. It's like, by the way, this is the solution. And, they're like, we get this question all the time. Well, this is the solution. Why didn't somebody figure it out before me, who doesn't code? Yeah. So I could totally see that 6 texts in 15 hours, because I
Yeah.
lived it.
I just don't, I
And
just
most
don't
of the
see
time
anyone.
what you get is Indonesia or the Philippines. And just as the gentleman says, you have a difficult time understanding what he's saying, and he has a difficult time understanding what you're asking.
yeah.
And,
yeah,
like I said, if you
Language
had
gap,
a give me a tier 2 or tier 3 support button, or get me somebody in the United States who has a better command of the language and can understand what the heck I'm saying. And
And they're
that's-
not using acronyms.
and that's the thing. That my big encounters with Microsoft support has been over surfaces. I had a Surface Pro 4, still have it, that developed the infamous screen shake disease that particular model was famous for. It was replaced like 5 or 6 times, but like I say, each and every time, I'm saying now, each and every time I had to deal with this, it was always, you start off in Indonesia or the Philippines or someplace like that, you go through the whole routine again, may or may not have read the person's records, and you just go on and on and on and on forever before you finally get an answer. And it's,
Yeah.
I
Well,
wish there was a better way.
It's sad to say that I often will have issues that will go for weeks or months just because I don't have time to call support for that. And then somebody reminds me, Well, as an MVP, you have premium support. Like,
No. Where did they pull that out of?
Well,
still got to go through that
totally,
process. Yeah.
and you're totally right. And then they're amazing about following up. They're like, I'll follow up with you tomorrow. And I see the phone call and I'm like, I can't answer it. 3 or 4 days they're nagging me to close the ticket, which I appreciate because they're following up. But it's like sometimes I don't have time right now to sit on the phone with you for 2 more hours.
There's a reason why for some, again, these are not just basic office app, problems, but where having an inside person and being able to call like a Bill Bear and answer deeper questions is a great benefit to being an MVP or an RD and having
or to simply annoy Bill.
True. It's a mix of things. True. But so the fundamental question or the answer to Dan's question is like, Dan, yeah, you can. So this is user or admin error because yes, you can invite anybody and they should be able to see each other and participate in a meeting. In a live event, if that's what you're using, the live event capability, no, they will not see each other because that is a one-way, it's a webcast. You as the admin should see everybody.
Specify.
Correct.
Unless you add them.
The admin sees them and then can add them as a presenter. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Question number 10. Shiraz says, I created a VM in Azure with high specifications. Not medium or low specifications, high specifications. But why is my VM very slow? I have 25 meg-second internet, but still have an issue. The VM is very slow. Need help. Was that? I set it up for you. You were so excited.
Where do I start?
Okay.
Where do I start?
25 meg.
I thought of this thing. I thought, when I added this in, I thought, Mike's going to unload here.
No. I'm going to be really nice about this. Is basically we need more information, Jerez, because you create a VM in Azure just because you have 25 megabits of internet doesn't mean that you have the same connectivity, but that really has nothing to do with the resources in use on the machine. We don't have any information on the machine. We don't know what you're running on the machine. We don't know if you got maybe it's a Linux VM that's got a runaway process that's just consuming all the CPU and RAM and you can't connect to it, or it's a Windows box that just natively is, not allowing you to connect to RDP. I don't know. There's so many different variables. We need more information, but in general, VMs as they're created in Azure are not slow by default, unless you create them as slow. So if you created them, you said high specifications, I'm assuming that means that you have maybe a D level machine or higher. If you have an A or a B level, then yes, it could very well be slow because of the sizing of the machine. But if you have a D level or higher, I need more information to evaluate. That's all. That's it.
All right. Okay. Anybody else want to add anything to that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they were asking about some other applications and issues and things that are out there, and I know that I spent years prior to the Office 365 existing as a PM, had fun creating a dedicated but hosted collaboration platform back in the early 2000s and got involved in all the WAN optimization and understanding, edge devices and performance issues with massive file sizes and design doc sharing and viewers and kind of all those different things. I know this is a slightly different thing, but yeah, there's people's expectation around that. Like, I've got a really powerful computer and I have fast internet. It's like, yeah, there are a lot of parts to doing collaboration and depending on where the process and where the files live and yeah. Okay. Let's jump to question number 11. Andre says, can anyone help me with the following? For every meeting, an attendance report is created and displayed in posts. That is great, but I don't want to share it with guests. can I hide this report for guests in posts? If yes, how can I do that?
Yeah.
The attendance report is new, and I've seen this question. People don't want it to have that published, so I was hoping Yale had an answer because some people.
Not yet.
No, I think if you cut them out of the chat, then it cuts them out of. I mean, if you cut them out of that, it cuts them out of all the chat. And if you don't create the attendance report, then you're not getting an attendance report. I don't know that there is a middle ground yet that I'm aware of.
You're outside the circle of trust.
Why would Microsoft publish? And obviously, this should be limited to admins only, and push that out to everybody. That makes no sense to me.
It happens in team meetings, but so in a live event, only the admins have access to the attendance.
In a team meeting, which is open.
In a team meeting, yeah, it's a collaborative meeting. So I think they're trying to imply that peers are all equal and maybe use a live event.
You can see the attendee list in a team meeting, right?
That's true.
So,
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's already visible. They're just giving you it in a format,
Right.
I guess we're
think
talking
those
about an
things-
organization where some people are more equal than others.
That's a
I
great.
think the
That's a
only
great point.
answer is a live event.
Yeah.
If
So-
you want to not share the attendance report.
That's a great point because I've actually sat and done that where I've joined meetings and I went through and it's like, who are these folks? And then gone and grabbed their email and done an offline aside conversation, contacted them about a point made and doing that. If they already have that information through the meeting, what's the difference with them having visibility to that attendance report at the end?
Does the attendance report give you more information than what's available in the? Okay, I don't know that. I haven't looked at one, so okay.
No.
Yep. So, yep.
Let's move on to Christian's question.
Yep. So this is
I'm thinking about this one.
this is somebody else that's named Christian. It's not me. It's like we might have a Highlander moment later this week. There can be only one, but for now. Going back to Hal's suggestions for hiring some. No, okay. Anyway, I'll move on. Has anyone successfully implemented BCS with SharePoint Online? We tried to use Azure SQL as a BCS without any luck. It seems PowerApps is the future of working with external data, but lacks promoting fields like InfoPath so they can get indexed. Also, external data columns don't appear to be compatible with modern list forms. Any other alternatives? We need SQL data from an on-premises or Azure to SharePoint metadata for doc library. Not sure if we have better luck with WCF and BCS, but that only works for classic lists. It's PowerApps with license and flow with list columns to match input fields and a flow to update these columns. All right, Sharon, take it away.
Yeah. Yes. So I have lived in this world for the last year. I finally escalated it all the way to the very top as far as I could, and I got a private meeting. And I worked with the cloud architecture team, and the answer I received was there is no formal plan for BCS and SharePoint Online, and the writing is on the wall. That's the answer I got. I have not been able to successfully use BCS and SharePoint Online, and so what we have done is we have gone around the back, and if you don't know about Azure Functions, Azure Data Warehouse, Azure Logic Apps, and then also on the Dataverse side, all the connectors, you really need to kind of start reading up, because if you can do it with a Dataverse connector, that's the easiest way to do it. So SharePoint has an out-of-the-box Dataverse connector to all of the Power Platform stuff. If you're going to go outside of Microsoft stuff, then you need to go the Azure Function route. And there is an HTTP REST call inside of Power Automate for an action that you can force an API from anywhere basically into a SharePoint list. So it kind of depends on what you're using. If it's inside the Microsoft universe, I would say use a connector if at all possible. And if it's outside, then I would say move to Azure Functions and Azure Logic.
I have to say that is probably the most complete answer that has ever been given on this show in the last 50-some episodes that we have done. I applaud.
Well done, Sharon.
Well done. Well done. But I will say one thing about the question. Anyone uses the term on-premise again, punch you in the throat. I've got to punch you in the throat.
Yeah.
Because it's
So-
not
That
a
is
word.
the premise.
So something I used to do too with our show notes for those so I sent out the questions in advance, sometimes with a couple hours notice, but usually like the night before of Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, I'll send it out. But I have stopped going in and spell checking and cleaning up. They truly are just the raw out there. Because I agree with you, Mike. Because I think that tells me something. If somebody uses capital S but lowercase p, or separates share and then point as two separate, like
PowerShell.
They're
right.
shibboleths.
I
It
almost
tells a story. It
correct.
does.
It tells me a little bit about the person asking the question. Honestly, about yeah.
How would you like to sit in a meeting with a CEO and CTO of a company for 2 hours and have them use that word like 30 times? My OCD, I'm sitting there like, I'm going to bust at these guys. They're sea levels, but I'm telling you, man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. I know. I like correcting people on the on-premise. I said, it's the way the writing style, the on-premise, are like they're on point of the word. Like I don't see how that's relevant. An on-premises system, on the other hand, would make much more sense. Could you please clarify?
So everybody
love
shortens
that.
it now to on-prem. So instead of getting
that's
it wrong,
fine.
they just say
You're
on-prem.
safe if you're on-prem.
Right.
But on-prem isn't actually in the Webster's dictionary either. So whatever.
But if all else fails, use on-prem, or if otherwise confused about the difference. Yeah, I'm with you. I love that. I love correcting people with that, but I try and do it in a way of saying, I want to make sure that people know exactly what you're talking about, to your point, Christian, and it's on premises, and I try not make them feel belittled.
Yeah,
but
Like
more,
Christian does.
I'm trying to let you're
Well,
kind of letting
educate.
the cat out of the bag that you don't know what you're talking
We
about
wanna-
if you use that phrase.
Exactly. You want to educate people. No, one of my favorite jokes from that movie, was it The Interns, about at Google? Vince Vaughn and is how he repeatedly calls it, and then we can put it on the line. It's like it's online. It's like, and it just keeps saying again and again on the line. and the poor the techie guys just keeps trying to correct him. It's awesome.
That was Vince Vaughn and Owen, wasn't it?
And Owen, yeah.
They're a pretty good duo.
It's a good movie. So, all right, let's see. Number 13, Galino says, "Hi, would like some help. I bought a new PC and logged into Microsoft with the same account as the old PC yesterday. I don't know how I found all the files of the old PC on a new one. How can I get the PC back new clean, keeping the integrity of the files of the old PC? Thanks."
It's just
What could
it
be
is
happening
the
here? I know.
Yeah, it's just a Microsoft login. I mean, you're syncing. That's all you're doing. So create a local account.
Mhm.
Or pull the
go
network
in.
cable.
Yeah. So, well, no, that won't get rid of the settings though.
Or just
Because
click the reset button on your new PC.
That'll work.
The old
No.
PC isn't connected to the new PC. If you reset the new PC, the old PC will stay intact.
What do you mean by reset though?
Yeah.
You said reset
Reset the
button.
factory settings.
Okay,
Oh,
reset the
restore
factory
default.
settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there used to be a reset button on the old computers. There was a on
We're
off.
still on the
You're
new
showing your
computers
age.
too.
Is it the one that
there's
you-
an option to reset it back to the beginning, and it
Yeah.
just takes your account out if you want it to go completely back.
Is it the one where you had to use a paper clip and
paper
unbend
clip.
it and push it in
That's
there?
right.
Yeah. No, actually, I had this just happen to with my in-laws. Is that they were like freaking out because they were like, how does this machine know that we have all this stuff? How did my pictures and everything get? I'm like, because you logged
Tracking
in
chip.
Yeah, exactly. I said, did you get vaccinated? Did you put the chip? Yeah.
Check your
It's- it-
computer
it-
somewhere. It'll give you your heart rate.
Yeah, and it just comes down to just don't use that account, or go into settings, go into user accounts, and then there's an option to create a non-Microsoft account, or what they call an offline account, I think. something
So,
like that.
Yeah, local user.
Local user account.
I
Yeah.
I do that all the time because I have like 12 different profiles on my computer because I have different clients, and it's easier for me to log out and log back in. And then after I create the local user with the standard password I use for all of them, then I go back in and add the Microsoft account for that company or client that I'm working with. And it's a godsend to me because otherwise I'm frustrated. But I think part of it too is if it's a Microsoft account, it's their OneDrive that's syncing to their desktop, which was by design, but you can turn that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the easiest way out of it is do what Sharon said, is just, go back and do a refresh, reset, or restore, or whatever. And that'll, because that user will continue to exist on
And
that
then
machine.
do what Shari says. Log in with create a whole separate account, and that way
Yeah.
it will pull them through.
Right. Well, and then if you log in again, but if they don't turn off the syncing in OneDrive, it's
Yes.
going to just do it again. So you've got to
That.
make sure that you unlink that account and log in as a local user. And then when you in OneDrive, you can tell it which folders do you want it to sync the documents, the pictures, and the is it
Desktop.
documents, pictures, and video desktop?
Desktop.
That's what. Thank you. And turn that off, and then it won't bring all that old stuff.
So the
over.
question too is the purpose of that machine. If this is Galino's, this is a second machine, but you want to keep the files separate. It's like, well, but what's the problem then if it's your second machine of having access to those cloud-enabled files in both locations so that you can work on either? If you're setting up a machine that's for another person, then yes, then go wipe that clean, create
Or he
another
just wants to start
profile.
over from scratch. Maybe he just wants
Right.
to start over from scratch and then gradually copy stuff over,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
get rid of the garbage. He doesn't want the garbage that he, doesn't want to bring over. I don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
So then you just choose which folders you want to sync on the host, the original machine, and stop syncing those. And then when on the new machine, choose which folders you want it to sync. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you tell I do this every once in a while?
Well, we have.
3 devices. I don't bring everything with me everywhere I go.
So we have, and this has been, it has been just a lifesaver. As I've tried to, well now especially work from home, I have everything on my workstation, and how easy it is to make those things accessible when I go and I'm on the road and put out in the cloud. So I actually have nothing local on my laptop, and I only use things that are in the cloud, pull down those files, a presentation or something else that I need
works.
when I'm on the road.
Yeah, that works 75% of the time. I mean, there's another 25% that just they won't sync because the app doesn't recognize syncing or whatever. Because I have the
So
problem-
pessimistic, but yes, I understand. No, but I get it. No, and that's why if you're going on the road, like I'll have a couple dozen files that I know I'll be working on. I'll make sure I'll do that while I'm still sitting here in my home office.
Yep.
Make sure the sync happens and they're moved over there, and then go on the road and to not rely on that. So I'm still remember when SkyDrive was still new, and I'm a music collector, and I had multiple external drives, and everybody was like, I'm moving my collection out onto the cloud. I'm using up this space. And I went for that. And then I lost half of the music that I put out on there. Of course, I had my cold storage, the CDs, the thousands that are in my food storage closet over to my left here, that my wife just keeps saying, is like, when are you going to get rid of all those CDs? I'm like, I'm going to be giving those to my grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
They're going to throw them out of the car when they roll you off on the side of the road.
Probably.
That's right.
There's room in the ditch for them.
Not if they read the terms of my will, they won't.
I have a throwback for you, although I do the same thing you do, Christian, and instead of bringing over certain folders, I have a in my OneDrive, I have a folder called Briefcase.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember
Wow.
Briefcase?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Now it's
So-
personal
That is
vault.
Old.
The personal
Yeah.
vault. Yep.
I move things into the briefcase, and that's the only folder that syncs with me when I go on the road. That way I know
Yep.
everything. And then when I come back, I file it back away where I want it to be, or if I'm on the road, I can do
Yeah,
it too.
Briefcase works much like the My Day and To Do. And so I just was adding things over from various lists of tasks that have been assigned to me. And I do that every morning. It's part of the way that I work, and drag things over just as top of mind, a list of these are the things that I'm working on. But Briefcase is much the same way.
Yeah.
That's why one of the questions I have for the group is, did anybody use the personal vault in OneDrive?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let me ask you this, is that I have a problem. I enabled a personal vault. And when I am in an app that says save as, and I go to save as and I click on personal, I can't save it to the personal vault. So when I try and do that, it comes up and tells me that I can't access the personal vault, number one. Okay, because you have to provide a password to get into the vault. And some applications don't recognize, hey, you know, the pop-up that wants a password before it can start copying the file there. So does anybody else have a problem with that? Because I can't.
I've not tried doing that. I've only used it with File Explorer and moving files into it, so I've just not seen it.
Yeah, I was trying save as, because if I get if I get backup codes for something, or I get, MFA.
That makes sense that you would
like
have.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to go look at. I've not seen that, so that'd be a great blog post, Mike, if you're interested in taking that as homework and telling us about it. All right, let's. We've got another 6 minutes. Let's one or two questions. I think we can jump to. So, question number 14. Raja says we have around 10 channels in Teams. I need to send alert messages to students using a bot instead of posting in the individual group. Is it possible to send messages to all channels and notifications using a bot?
Yes, as long as you have permissions to those channels, and there are bots in the marketplace apps that you can use.
Okay.
I think you have to do them individually. I don't think you could do it to. I don't know if you could do it to all channels at once. That's the only thing.
I think I did see a bot that'll do it to all channels that you have permissions to do it.
Nice.
You specify the channels.
But it has to be, it's the limitation in the team, though. So you could do it at the team level. So it couldn't do it to multiple channels across multiple teams, but within a team to multiple channels.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd have to look up the bot name again, too, because there was one bot and there was created. And I don't know, maybe it's not. I mean, it's in the App Store, so I'm figuring that it's legit. Who knows?
Mike takes this as homework. All right.
Moving on.
I'll send the reminder to that. All right, question number 15, Gift says, hello, need to help. How can I disable users to create teams?
Don't forget the little crying face.
Yes, and there's a sad face after that.
With the tear.
With a tear, yeah.
There's actually a cry there. There's actually...
Leave them in tears, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the Teams Admin Center.
Is there a way to tell that to restrict users so they cannot create teams? I'm not aware that a regular user can create a team.
Well, you can enable or disable that. You can make it. You can give permissions to a group of admins.
But they're admins. We're talking about users here.
We're talking about users.
Yeah, that was my question, because it's either all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
You can't just cherry pick which users can and which users can't.
That's
correct?
what I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sanity check.
Yeah, so that's has there been any discussion about putting a tiered support for that? Having like a
I think it's
admin
just the
group?
maturity of Teams at this point. I mean, the granularity of permissions, a lot of the potential modifications are going to be driven from user requests and user usage patterns.
Yeah.
So I think, what we'll continue to get the same sort of rollout of features, but I think things will get more granular as those become prevalent asks and use cases.
Well, I know that there are a lot of third-party solutions out there. I mean, we have AppPoint, we have it built into our platforms. You have like Seb's company, Provision Point. I mean, there's plenty of provisioning solutions that are out there to do that control. So you can, disable it there, but have it manage that function through a provisioning application.
Which undoubtedly is going to have much more control and ability to make things granular.
And I know that Microsoft is developing templates and things for Teams, but that a lot of the provisioning solutions already had a version of that was out there as well. So just more control that way.
The only other thing you could do would be to go back a step and manage who can control groups. And if you can do that, so I've actually walked through that, where basically you create a security group, and then you run a PowerShell command to basically disable users from being able to create Microsoft 365 groups, and then you put people in the group that can create groups, and so you can kind of determine who can do that. I'm going to post the link to that in here. So that would be the only other way I think that you could probably do it, is if you're managing who can create groups, then that'll also manage who can create teams.
She who controls the groups controls the world.
It's true.
Closer to the song, to the universe would be, who controls the spice controls the universe. Which, by the way, can't wait for that. The latest, for those that don't know that quote from Dune, the new movie looks fantastic.
Spice must flow.
I'm just so excited about that. And I've got the original Eon 12-inch as well as the CD single in the collection that my wife complains about, for the song Spice, which was an old club hit in the late 80s. Love that. Around 88, 89, I think, when that song came out. So, well, we are at the time, folks, so thank you so much for everybody on the panel for participating. Sean, Sharon, Hal, Mike, and Shari, and Eric, who left us early. Neil, who's dead to us currently. Don't know what happened to him. But I can't remember if he was on the road or something again. But
I think he's in Phoenix, because there was some pictures posted. He's with Brian Alderman and a couple.
Oh,
other
that's
people.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
There's an event going on, and bacon was had. That's right. Well, thanks those so much, and for everybody watching the live stream. So there will be the summary blog post of every question, every topic in the Message Center updates that Mike provided, as well as every question that we covered, and all the links that you probably didn't catch that were in the chat throughout the video. Will all be in that buckleyplanet.com blog post, and as well as a complete link list out on YouTube. So the live stream on YouTube, so the recording is already out there. You can find it out there. Just do a search for Collab Talk. You should be able to find that. But thanks all for joining. We'll be back again at 8 a.m. Pacific next Monday to do it all again with a new set of questions. We've got these 5 that we're already queued up for next week.
Oh boy.
My response exactly, Hal.
Well, thanks so much, everybody, and we'll fade out with some music here, but we'll see you all out in the on-premise world.
Have a great week, everyone.
Happy late Wednesday, don't
my friends. Ain't no wonder why, ain't no wonder I do. Here we go again. Call me up and you wanna be my friend. I'm the one you ride to. If you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change, I can help you out. 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 Look, if you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change, I can help